They said I was crazy. They used the word misala. That is what you call someone who has lost their mind. Someone who is not well. My mother was worried. My father did not know what to say. My neighbors looked at me and shook their heads. The children laughed. I was 14 years old. I had not eaten a full meal in months. I had been thrown out of school because my family could not afford $80. And I was standing in a junkyard, pulling apart a broken bicycle, because a book I could barely read told me it was possible to turn wind into light. They can call me crazy, but crazy people do not have a plan.
Welcome back to After Hours. I am Vaughn. Tonight I am going to tell you a story about a boy, a book, and a pile of junk. In 2001, Malawi was starving. The crops had failed. The rains had come at the wrong time, flooding entire districts, destroying harvest across the country. And then the government did something unforgivable. They sold the National Grain Reserve, 165,000 metric tons of emergency maize, sold to private traders, shipped to Kenya and Mozambique, while the people of Malawi went hungry. The price of maize rose 340% overnight, from 5 kwacha per kilogram to 17. A family that was barely surviving could no longer afford to eat it all. They called the famine the swelling, because that is what happens to a human body when it is starving. The ankles swell, the face swells, and then you die. In a small village called Windmill, in the Kasungu district of central Malawi, a farming family was down to 3 mouthfuls of nsima per person per day. Nsima, maize porridge. 3 mouthfuls. That is not a meal. That is a negotiation between your body and death. The father of that family was a maize farmer named William Kamkwamba. He had 7 children, 6 daughters and 1 son. The son was 14 years old, skinny, quiet, and had just been thrown out of school because the family could not scrape together $80 for tuition. That boy's name was William Kamkwamba. And within 2 years, he would build a machine that changed his life, his village, and the way the world thinks about what a poor African kid is capable of. This is episode 8, The Windmill. Windmill sits 23 kilometers east of Kasungu in central Malawi. It is farm country. Red earth. Maize fields as far as you can see. The rhythm of life there follows the rain. When the rain comes, you plant. When the harvest comes, you eat. When the rain does not come, you pray. In 2001, the rain came wrong. It came too hard, too fast, and at the wrong time. Floods tore through southern and central Malawi, destroying crops and displacing 335,000 people. When the water receded, the harvest was short by 200,000 metric tons. And then the grain reserve vanished.
Agnes, how much flour do we have left?
Not enough. Maybe 4 days if we are careful. If we eat at night only.
1 meal a day.
1 meal. 7 mouthfuls each.
The children.
They know. They do not complain. But I see them. I see their ribs. I see their collarbones. Try well. I see my children disappearing.
William Kamkwamba watched his family waste away. He weighed himself obsessively on the maize scale, watching the number drop week after week. His neighbors were eating chaff, the husks from maize, grinding them into a paste that provided almost no nutrition. Some were eating seeds that had been treated with pesticide, meant for planting, not for human consumption. People were dying. In the middle of this, William was pulled out of Kachokolo Secondary School. The tuition was $80. $80. In a country where the average person earned less than $1 a day, in the middle of a famine, $80 might as well have been 80,000.
Father, they sent me home again. The headmaster says I cannot come back until the fees are paid.
I know, William.
I want to learn. I want to go back.
I know what you want. But I cannot give you what I do not have. We do not have $80. We barely have 80 kwacha.
What am I supposed to do?
Help me in the fields. Pray for rain. That is what we all do now.
William refused to accept it. Not the poverty, not the hunger. He could endure those. What he could not accept was the future he saw when he looked at those dry, cracked fields. A future that looked exactly like the present. A future of waiting. Waiting for rain. Waiting for relief. Waiting for someone else to solve the problem. So he went to the library. The Windmill Primary School had a small library stocked with donated books from the American Institute for Research, the McGraw-Hill International Book Donation Program, and the International Book Bank. Most of the books were in English. William's English was limited. He had learned some in school, but not enough to read fluently. But books have something that does not require translation. Pictures, diagrams, illustrations that cross every language barrier on Earth. William pulled a blue-covered textbook off the shelf. It was called Using Energy, written by an American professor named Mary Atwater. It was an 8th grade science textbook designed for American school children. On the cover was a photograph of a row of windmills, tall white structures standing against a blue sky, their blades spinning. He opened it. Inside were diagrams, illustrations of how a windmill captures wind and converts it into rotational energy, how a generator uses that rotation to produce electricity, how electricity flows through a circuit, how a dynamo works.
I cannot read all the words, but I can see the pictures. The wind turns the blades turn the shaft turns the generator makes electricity. If the wind can make electricity, and the wind is free, then electricity is free. You just need to build the machine.
William checked the book out and took it home. He studied the diagrams for hours. He traced the circuits with his finger. He stared at the pictures of American wind turbines and tried to imagine what those machines looked like on the inside. And then he started looking around his village with new eyes, not at the buildings or the fields, at the junk. Behind the village, there was a scrapyard, a dump where broken machines went to die, rusted tractors, broken bicycles, stripped-down engines, twisted metal, useless things, worthless things, unless you knew what they could become.
A bicycle has a dynamo. The dynamo generates electricity when the wheel spins. If the wind can spin a blade, and the blade can spin a dynamo, then I can make electricity. I can make light. I can power a radio. I can pump water. I just need parts. And the parts are right there, in the junkyard. Free.
He started collecting, piece by piece. An old tractor fan blade, a bicycle frame, a shock absorber, rubber from flip-flops, wire from stripped motors, nails, magnets, scrap metal. His bedroom became a workshop. His mother's house became a parts depot. And the village began to talk. The Chichewa word for crazy is misala, and that is what the village of Wimbe called William Kamkwamba.
That boy, he has lost it. Look at him, dragging junk through the village like a madman. His father is starving and the boy is playing with trash.
William, please, tell me what you are doing. Your father needs you in the fields. The neighbors are talking. They say you are on drugs. They say you have gone misala.
I am not crazy, Mama. I am building something.
Building what? From garbage?
A windmill. A machine that turns wind into electricity. I read about it in a book.
A book. William, a book cannot feed this family. Go help your father.
His father Trywell was torn. He did not understand what William was building. He needed his son in the fields. But there was something in the boy's eyes, a certainty that Trywell had never seen before. And Trywell had his own kind of wisdom. When people stole from the family during the famine, when neighbors took what little food they had left, Trywell would say one thing.
Everyone has the same hunger.
He let the boy work. William enlisted his best friend, Gilbert Wimby, and his cousin Jeffrey. Gilbert made the crucial contribution: a bicycle dynamo, the one piece William could not find in the scrapyard. Gilbert saw a traveler passing through the village on a bicycle. The bicycle had a dynamo attached to the wheel for a headlight. Gilbert stopped the man, negotiated, and bought the dynamo with the little money he had.
I got it. I got the dynamo.
You bought it? With what money?
Do not ask me where the money came from. Just take it. Make your machine work, William. Prove I'm wrong.
They cut down blue gum trees and lashed them together into a tower, 16 feet tall, 5 meters. They mounted the tractor fan blade at the top. They connected the blade to the bicycle frame, which connected to the dynamo. William built a circuit breaker from magnets, wire, and nails, modeled after the diagram of an electric bell in the Using Energy textbook. He wired the system to a car battery for storage. The whole thing looked insane. A crooked tower of lashed-together tree trunks, topped with a tractor fan blade, connected to bicycle parts with wire and rubber. It looked like something from a fever dream, the kind of thing a crazy person builds in their backyard. The village gathered to watch, not to cheer, to confirm what they already believed, that the Kamkwamba boy had lost his mind. And then the wind blew. The blades began to turn, slowly at first. The tractor fan caught the breeze and rotated. The bicycle chain transferred the motion to the dynamo. The dynamo spun, and current flowed through the wire. William had connected one wire to a single light bulb inside his family's home, a house that had never had electricity, a house in a village where 98% of the population had never turned on a light switch. The bulb flickered, and then it glowed.
William, look, look.
It works. Mama, it works.
The light. My God, the boy made light.
One bulb. One small, flickering bulb in a house without electricity, in a village without power, in a country in the middle of a famine. And the boy who could not afford $80 for school had just done something that none of the adults around him thought was possible. He expanded the system. 4 light bulbs, 2 radios, light switches, a circuit breaker. His family had light. For the first time in their lives, they could see at night without a kerosene lamp. And then the neighbors came, the same neighbors who had called him Misala. They came with their mobile phones.
William, can you charge my phone? My battery is dead. There is no electricity for kilometers.
Lines formed outside the Kamkwamba house. People queued up to charge their mobile phones on a machine built from junk by a 14-year-old who had been thrown out of school. The same people who had mocked him were now standing in line, waiting for his invention to charge their devices. But William was not done. The light bulbs and the phone charging were proof of concept. What he really wanted to build was bigger. He wanted to build a windmill tall enough to catch the wind above the tree line. 12 meters, 39 feet, and he wanted it to pump water. Because the thing that had nearly killed his family was not the famine itself. It was the dependence on rain. If you could pump water from the ground, you could irrigate. If you could irrigate, you could grow maize year-round. If you could grow maize year-round, you would never starve again. He built the second windmill. Taller, stronger, connected to a water pump. And the fields around Wimby began to turn green. In November of 2006, 4 years after William built his first windmill, a man named Dr. Hartford Mkazim visited the village of Wimby. Mkazim worked for the Malawi Teacher Training Activity, a program that monitored schools and libraries across the country. He had heard rumors about a boy who had built an electricity-generating machine from scrap parts after reading a donated library book. He came. He saw the windmill. He saw the lights. He saw the water pump. And he brought journalists with him. On November 20th, 2006, the Daily Times newspaper in Blantyre published the first story about William Kamkwamba. Bloggers in Malawi picked it up. Engineers named Soyapi Mumba and Mike McKay at the Baobab Health Project wrote about it online. The story spread. It jumped from Malawi to the international blogosphere. And it reached a man named Emeka Okafor, the program director for TED Global. In June of 2007, William Kamkwamba stood on a stage in Arusha, Tanzania. He was 19 years old. He had never used a computer. He had never seen the internet. His English was still limited. He was terrified. He later said he wanted to vomit. He stood in front of some of the most brilliant minds in the world, scientists, entrepreneurs, billionaires, and he told them his story in a handful of sentences.
I wanted to do something. I go to library, I get information about Windmill, and I try, and I made it.
I tried. And I made it. 6 words. The audience rose to their feet, a standing ovation for a boy from a village with no electricity who had refused to accept the world as it was. After that, everything changed. William enrolled at the African Leadership Academy in South Africa. He published a memoir called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind with journalist Brian Mealer. It became a New York Times bestseller. He was admitted to Dartmouth College in the United States, where he earned a degree in environmental studies in 2014. He founded the Moving Windmills Project, a nonprofit that has built wells, installed solar-powered water pumps, and renovated schools across Malawi. In 2019, Netflix released a film adaptation of his story, directed by Chiwetel Ejiofor. It premiered at Sundance. All of it, every single piece of it, traced back to one book, one junkyard, and one boy who refused to believe that poverty meant powerlessness. There is a line that William Kamkwamba has said many times. He said it in interviews. He said it in his book. He said it to people who doubted him when he was 14 years old, starving and dragging bicycle parts through a village that thought he was crazy. Do not insult me today just because I am poor. You do not know what my future holds. They called him Misala, crazy. They said he should stop playing with junk and help his father in the fields. They said a dropout